Well, if it's all right with you guys, let's shift gears to the midterm. Um,
Sounds good.
I was kind of thinking that if you guys had questions, we could certainly go back and cover specific topics, and we can kind of just see where we go from there. So, um, I know. Do you have? Let's start with you. Do you have any specific questions?
No,
Things
I
that
just wanted to ask, like, are the quizzes going to be similar like the quizzes we have done so far?
So if I heard you correctly, are you asking the quizzes, sorry, the questions on the exam, are they going to be similar to the quiz questions?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of the idea with the quizzes. So the quizzes are all open book. The kind of the formatting of the questions, the content, the challenge level, the scope of the questions. Yes, that's exactly right. They will be very similar. I can't guarantee that all of those questions are going to be the same. There'll be a lot of new questions, but they'll cover the same competencies.
So we can have the book or any notes.
No, this would be very similar. Just because, and even though this is an online class, we're going to take the midterm just as if we were taking it in class. So that being said, students have to take it proctor free. So just like each of you right now, Michael, I know you don't have a webcam, but I know you do. So when you take the exam through this proctor free software in Canvas, and you don't have to download any new software, you just log into Canvas at the time, and it will pull up this proctor free site as you're taking the exam. It's going to take a screenshot of you, and it's going to monitor what's on your screen. So students, you cannot take this with the assistance of a book, your notes, other students. You can't be looking at your cell phone. The software program is going to monitor you through the webcam. And if you're constantly doing this, it's going to flag that. If people take screenshots, it's going to flag that. So I don't do that to make people nervous. Just take the exam with the same mindset as if you were going in and sitting down in a classroom to take a midterm. But that's kind of the idea, I know.
Okay.
Yep. So, and as a reminder to you guys, you do have that practice quiz that's due by tomorrow night.
I think I knocked that out already.
Did you, Michael? So you were able to take it through the proctor free?
Yeah, my laptop has a webcam, so
okay, perfect.
it's literally next to me. I'm just on desktop right now.
Okay, no worries. So I know, have you been able to take that practice midterm quiz?
No, I didn't do it yet. I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so that is part of your participation for this week, but it will give you guys an opportunity to practice with proctor free.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll make sure we can clean up any technical issues or anything like that. So other students that go back and watch this, based on what semester you're watching this, make sure you take that practice quiz for the midterm, because it is tied to proctor free. And that way we can clean up any technical problems. Maybe we need to work that out with IT, but we have that opportunity because that's not due until tomorrow night. We have spring break next week. And then we'll be taking the midterm quiz the following week. You'll have from that Wednesday until that Friday to take the midterm. So hopefully we can clean up any proctor free issues. So I know, or Michael, do you guys have other questions about, just the structure, the formatting, anything like that with the midterm?
I'm imagining just like multiple choice.
Yep, it will be
questions.
It'll be 50 multiple choice questions. Very similar to structure with the quizzes. You will have 75 minutes, just like a regular on ground class, to take that midterm. So essentially, you're going to have 90 seconds per question. You will be able to go back and review your questions. So once it'll present them one at a time, but you'll be able to go back and review your questions before submitting your final. That's the idea. Other questions about kind of the test format, how it's structured? And then maybe here in a moment, we'll get into content.
I'm fine with content.
Okay. I know, well, you guys, I was, kind of hoping there'd be a few more people, but, joining us, but that's perfectly all right. Do you guys have questions about specific content that you've run into over the course of the semester? What questions do you have?
I don't have right now.
Michael, how about you?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a lot of material. It's very broad, so there's so much to ask. I don't know how to focus the scope of what to kind of focus on or know, or I guess I'm
Sure.
trying to see.
Well, let me do point out that, and I can go to, do you guys have access to all of the objectives and competencies? I'm trying to think where, oh, I would have done that under possibly announcements. So Michael, your question about, okay, so it seems like there's a lot of chapters, there's a lot of content to go over. Have you guys seen this under announcements? If you go to chapter objectives, you can download this file. There's this file, it's a PDF document. It has every single chapter objective throughout the entire course. Now, obviously, we're only working our way up through, I think, what did we get through? Chapter 6 plus chapter 11, along with Coakley's chapter on sports sociology. So, Michael, I would really encourage you and other students to go back to announcements. So just to back up, I got there through announcements, and there is an announcement titled Chapter Objectives. Download that PDF document. And that should hopefully give you a little bit more structure as you're prepping for the midterm, and then also as you guys move forward and you're ready for the final. This is the most important information from those chapters. Had you guys seen that before?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, and that's helped other students in the past as they prepare for those two exams. Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like you guys don't have very, specific questions about content. Maybe if as we go through this, if something does come up, we can do that. But so if you guys don't have specific, real structured questions, maybe I could ask you guys a few questions. How's that sound? Would that be all right? I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So what I've done is I've prepared. About 20 questions. We'll see how many of these we can get through. Now, what I would encourage you to do is don't memorize specific questions. Think broadly about, okay, what objective is this? But whether you take the midterm review or we go through this, what I would encourage you and others that are watching this online, try to answer these questions and maybe have a scratch piece of paper. Try your best to answer these questions. And at the end, let's see how many you get correct. Okay. So we'll go through these one at a time. I'll ask the question. I'll give you a moment to think about your answer, and then we'll answer it. How's that sound? And then what I would encourage you to do, and like I said, others that are watching this, grade yourself at the end. I would honestly say if you take these 20 questions and you get, let's just say you got 16 out of 20 right. I mean, that's an 80%. You're definitely on the right track. You're probably pretty close to being ready for the midterm. But if you take these questions and, you're getting 10 out of 20 correct, you're probably struggling. And I'll have some ideas, some suggestions for you for moving forward once we wrap this up. But let's jump into it. Is that okay with you guys? Sure.
I've already got the first one marked down.
All right. So just read this real quick. The most reliable method of obtaining knowledge in sport and exercise psychology or sport sociology is what? I'm not going to read every single option, but take a moment, look that over, and jot down what you think the answer is. So, Michael, how about we go with you for this first one? What did you come up with as the answer?
I put delta, the scientific method.
Delta. Yep. Okay. So the scientific method would be, all right. So if we ask the question, the least reliable method, we'd probably say that's introspection. Just what I think in my own head might be what might be valid and reliable. But certainly when we talk about, sport and exercise science being a science, the way that we obtain information, the way that we know that information is valid, the way that we know that it's true and that we can replicate that information, it's through the scientific method, just like we would do in, any other science like chemistry or biology. We use the scientific method. Let's move on to question number 2. I know we're going to give you a crack at this one. So the sports psychology specialists have 3 roles. These include, which would we say that it is? So take a moment and read through those and then jot down your answer. And then here in a moment, I know that I'm going to give you a chance to answer.
By the way, I've got like a thing going on. I'm not like sniffing or coughing in the mic too much.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, if you start hacking too much, I think you can actually mute.
Yeah, I got a mute button on the microphone.
Okay, all right. I know. What do you think the answer is here?
I think A.
Okay, teaching.
I know it's teaching and consulting, but I'm not sure about the other one.
Okay.
Researching.
Research. Yeah. So what that means is a person conducts studies and experiments, and they try to investigate in the field to further theory and knowledge, so that consultants, people that are applied, can use that with athletes, and then also teachers can use that information. So you're exactly right. The answer is A. It's teaching, research, and consulting. So very good job. Answer is A. All right, so kind of a history question in sports psych. Sports psychology is believed to have been formally established in the United States by this individual.
Okay, can I answer it, or is it me?
Yeah,
or?
Michael, if you want to go for it, go for it. Yep.
I'm gonna go for Bravo, Coleman Griffith.
Coleman Griffith is correct, yes. So while sports psychology is believed to have been more formally established outside of the United States, especially in Eastern European countries, here in the US, late 1800s, early 1900s, yes, Coleman Griffith was essentially the first to really kind of push sports psychology as a study forward. Developed a laboratory, but Norman Triplett, don't forget about Norman Triplett, did the
right guy, wasn't he?
Yep, exactly. Yep, that's right. Mm-hmm. And there might be some questions on the midterm about Norman Triplett. So yeah, don't forget to study him. Hi, Kimley. You're joining us. Hopefully you can hear us. You might have to unmute on your screen, but as soon as you do that, feel free to kind of follow us along. We're actually jumping in and asking a few questions. We've got 20 questions here. So everybody so far has been doing a good job. They've been, I'll read the question and then they're gonna write down their answer. That way you can kind of self-quiz yourself and see kind of by the end what your grade is. That'll give you a pretty good idea of how you're doing going into the midterm. So number 4, a weakness in the psychodynamic approach. So this would be tied into chapter 2 on personalities. A weakness in the psychodynamic approach is its. What do we think might be the answer? So take a few moments, guys, look those over. I know, do you think you might have a guess there? What do you think it might be?
A and B.
Okay, great. And I think a lot of students, when we look at, and one, that is correct. Good job. So I think a lot of students, they make the mistake as far as test taking strategy. They answer with the first one that looks good. So A is correct, but we need to read all of the responses. So yes, the correct answer would be D, both A and B. Psychodynamic approach focuses on internal. With psychodynamic approach, we talk about the id, the ego, the superego. It doesn't really look at a person's environment or situational factors. So good job. Number 5, taking an intra. So we need to know what intra means.
It means between.
Yes. Well, no, intra means within. So if we said inter, I-N-T-E-R, like inter-individual, that's between multiple people. So in this case, we're talking about within the person. All right. So taking an intra-individual approach to psychological testing means what? So look those over.
Okay.
So Michael, looking at these, what do you think might be the most appropriate answer?
Well, A, C, and D seem to always be looking more like social aspects of it, and B seems to be looking for like kind of goal-oriented behavior. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's B.
Good, and I think that would be a very good approach to answering this question, Michael. You looked at, okay, what does that term intra mean, and you kind of deduce that you said A, C, and D are looking at environmental or social components. So in this case, B would be the best answer. So the answer is B. All right, moving on. So here, another question about personality. So we have the Big 5 model of personality is important because these 5 characteristics blank. So look those over. I know, do you have an idea on that one? What might you say would be the best answer?
Not yet.
What's that?
Not yet.
Okay. And so as we go through these, if you come across something that's really got you stumped, maybe just jot down a note. Not a bad idea to go study that topic. But as well, as far as test taking strategy on the midterm, you don't have endless time. So sometimes you might have to move on to the next question and come back. But in this case, what's that?
B.
B, are consistent with a behavioral approach to personality. I don't think that would be the best answer here. I think what we're probably looking for here, I think the best answer might be C.
Okay.
The Big 5 model of personality has been assessed across a wide range of individuals from various cultures all over the world. And they've done, it's kind of a statistical model called factor analysis, and have looked at personality and said that personality, at least according to these researchers across a wide spectrum of societies and cultures, can kind of be boiled down to a 5-factor model, if you will. So that would be an example of content in the course that probably wasn't in the chapter. It was probably in one of the supplemental readings. Might have also been touched on in the PowerPoint. So moving on.
Charlie.
All right, number 7. An effective technique to use to change undesirable motives of a participant is what? Kimberly, I'd assume you can hear us. Can we hear you yet on this end? You might have to unmute if your microphone is working. No huge deal if it doesn't, as long as you can hear us.
She's using text.
Anyway, which is all right. No worries, Kimberly. As I look at this question, I'd have to look at the answer key to know exactly where I was going. I think the best answer here, though, is probably behavior modification. But I think there might be, this might be an example of one of those questions based on how students answered. I might want to take a stronger look at. You know, I can about guarantee that what I was going for here was behavior modification A. As I look at this question, when we talk about motives is really a cognitive component of a person's psychology. So you know, I could see B or C, sorry, B or D. C is a type of counseling intervention. I'd probably end up tossing this type of a question. So if it's all right with you guys, let's just nix this question. But I was probably going for A, behavior modification, being that's probably what ties in most closely with our course.
I'll just put myself a check mark for that one.
I would just nix that one, take that one out. All right, number 8. Well, everybody gets a point for that one. Just give yourself a point for that one. All right, number 8. Motivated behavior is primarily a function of individual characteristics. This is consistent with which view of motivation? So here we're asking about the individual. Which of these I know would be most consistent with kind of that individual focus of personality and how it relates to motivation? What do you think it might be?
A.
A. Mm-hmm. Yep. A. Trait-centered. Exactly. Situation looks at our environmental cues. Individual was not one of our views of motivation. And then interactional has to do with kind of the intersection of both individual and the environment. So the best answer here is A. Very good job. We probably have time, based on how long we have left on this Zoom session, for 2 more questions. So, which of the following is a motive for youth to participate in sport or exercise?
Can I guess D.
You think all the above? Yep. Michael, that's correct. D, all the above. I know if I change that question to which of the following is the number 1 motive for youth to participate in sport, what do you think the answer would be?
I'd put probably.
Hold on, Michael. Hold on.
C.
You think it's C, excitement? Okay. I think C might be really close, but I mean, fun is probably, and I could see from a language standpoint, I mean, A and C. Now that I look at it, I probably want to change this to a little bit something different, but the correct answer here would be fun. Most kids get into their number 1 reason for participating is fun. So, but the correct answer to this, the way that it's structured, D, all the above. All right, number 10, the last one. The importance placed on an event and the uncertainty that surrounds the actions of that event is a source of what? Michael, you think you might have the answer here?
Sure, let me take a look. See, so it's placed on an event in particular. So judging from the structure of the question, I would say the answer is going to be some type of stress.
Okay.
And about an external factor, it wouldn't be really personal. So I'm going to say it's E, situational stress.
Situational stress. Yep. Yeah, it is asking about a very specific instance. Okay. So in that case, we are asking about a particular situation, and it is asking about stress. So the correct answer would be E. So, you know, I encourage you and other students to kind of take a look at, based on those 10, how you did. In the general ballpark, if you were answering, if you got 8, 9, or 10 of those correct, I think you're really on the right track. If you got 6 or 7, you're trending in the right direction. You need to certainly be studying quite a bit more. If you're answering less than 6 correct out of those 10, I'd say, one, you've got a lot of work to do, but it's probably coming down to how you're going about the course. I really encourage students to take the quizzes, try to answer the questions just as we did. Read the question, answer it, and then at the end of the quiz, go back and see if you got it correct by looking in your book, looking in your notes. Don't have your